Hi, my name is Leah, and today I am going to be going through the 26 books that I hope to read in 2026. I put that in air quotes because it's actually more 23 books and 3 series. You can't see the full stack on camera, but there's a lot more than 26 books in here. But these are the 26 books that I would like to read in the upcoming year. Before I get into it, I do like to a lot of the time go into books blind. Especially if it's something that's really popular, I'll deliberately not look at why it's popular. So if I'm not able to actually tell you what some of these are about, that's why, but some of them are quite popular. But I'm going to start with one that I do know what it's about, and that is The Silence of the Lambs by Thomas Harris. I read Red Dragon back in 2023 and really enjoyed it, and so I want to continue this series starting with this one. I've seen the film adaptation and I really enjoy it, so I would like to read this one just to continue on, and if I like it I'll pick up Hannibal, but this one is the priority. The next one is The Vampires of El Norte, I think it's pronounced, by Isabel Cañas, I think it's pronounced. Again, I've only read her once. I read The Hacienda last year and I really enjoyed it. That being said, I think I need to reread it because upon reflection I don't think I actually remember much of what happened in it. But I do know, I know this is a horror sort of romance. I don't necessarily know if it's between a vampire and a person. I don't think it's between a vampire and a person. Again, I'm going into this largely blind. But I've heard mixed things about this one, but from what I've gathered, people who like horror romance seem to enjoy it. And I'm not a romance reader, but if it's romance and something else, I'm more likely to enjoy it. It's got to be more than just a romance for me. So yes, I'm going to give this a go, and I like vampires. I liked her last work, so I'm going to give this one a go. So next up, I'm going for Monstrillo by, and I'm going to completely butcher this, Gerardo Samano Cordova. I don't know, but I do know is that I hate the UK cover of this book. The US one is miles better. From what I gather, this is about a mother who loses her son. She steals a bit of his lung and grows a creature out of it that may or may not be her son. I don't know. But this is on the priority, partly because it does sound interesting when I hear people talk about it, and also the fact that my best friend wants to read this, and I told her she could borrow it months ago, so I need to prioritise this one. But yes, that is on the list. Next up, books 4. I want to read The Demonata by Darren Shan. I'm going to put the whole thing down before I drop them. That's the last one, but I'm a big fan of Darren Shan. Aforementioned best friend introduced me to Darren Shan when she gifted me the first book in the Zombie series, and since then I've read that entire series and all but the last 2 of the saga of Darren Shan with the vampires. So I would really like to read this one because I've heard good things about it. I know she's a fan of it. It's a 10-book series and they're quite short, so that'll pad out the Goodreads if nothing else. So kind of wish I had the different covers, but yes. So I don't really know what this is about other than I'm pretty sure it's demons. So I'm going to give that a go, but it's Darren Shan. I'd call him the Stephen King of kids horror, because he just does not hold back. I know that from the saga of Darren Shan and Zombie. He doesn't let the fact that these characters are technically minors in order to get away with horror, get away with not heaping horror onto them. So I definitely plan to read these. I plan to read these this year initially, but I'll do it this year, next year, definitely. So that is book 4. Book 5, I've gone for The Reformatory by Tananarive Dew. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I believe this is a haunted house, historical haunted house, depends on where you start historical, but it takes place in 1950. And it's, from what I've gathered, it's about a young black boy who I think has been involved in something or framed for something involving a white boy, and because it's the 1950s in Florida, he basically gets accused of everything. He's the only one in trouble, and he's sent to the reformatory, which is haunted with the ghosts of the boys who have died there. So I like a haunted house story, but at the same time I like a little spin on it, and it sounds like it could have a nice little spin on it. I've heard good things about it since it came out in 2024, so I'm going to have that going. It's a nice chunky one. And next up, this year I read The Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice, so now I want to get onto The Vampire Lestat. I especially want to get to this before season 3 of the TV show comes out, because I need to watch it. I've only watched the first 3 episodes of season 1 of that show, but I'm enjoying it, so I want to read this before that comes out. I was a big fan of The Interview with the Vampire, both the book and the film, so I need to read on with it. I've never watched Queen of the Damned, but I think that is an adaptation of both this and Queen of the Damned book, I think, so we'll get to that. Those are all the horrors that I want to read next year. On to fantasy. The fantasy books that I want to read this year. Starting off, I know this is a very popular series. I want to read the Caraval trilogy. Is it a trilogy anymore, or is there a novella attached to the end? I'm not entirely sure, but these are the ones I own. And I know it's about a carnival, or Caraval. I don't know. Something circusy, that's all I know. Again, this is one of the ones I'm picking it up because I know it's really popular, but it's one of the ones I don't actually know what it's about, and I don't want to know about. I want to go in blind. So we will go for that one. I don't know, they're really popular. I've never read Stephanie Garber before, so I'm interested in finding out why so many people love her so much. Next up is actually a continuation of a series that I started forever ago. I want to read A Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin. This is, I got the editions where book 3 and 5 are split into 2 parts, so this is part 1, Steel and Snow. I've heard that Storm of Swords is the best in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I know lots of people love it. I know this is sort of what, season 3 of I've never watched the show, but I know it's season 3-ish of the show. So I want to read that. I've read, I think you can see them right behind me, I've read A Game of Thrones and A Clash of Kings, and I've read Fire and Blood, so it's time to get to this one, because I put it off. I think this year, since I started Game of Thrones, is the only year I've not actually read a Game of Thrones book, so I'm going to read that. But again, that's just continuing the series. I enjoyed those 2, and I'm hoping good things out of this one, and if I have time I might read part 2 of it as well, because otherwise it's going to take me 7 years to read the entire series. Next up is another series. This, I should have brought water with me. This is a very, very popular children's book series that kind of just, I never really got round to them, and that is the Percy Jackson series. I know they are very beloved. They've got a film adaptation, which I know is not very popular, and they've got a TV show, which I don't know what people think of that. But I got these 5 books. I've never read Rick Riordan, I think it's pronounced, and all I know is it's Percy. He is, I think he's the son of Poseidon, and he goes to a camp, I know he goes to a camp, I think, at some point, and he's got 2 friends, and there's Greek gods, and yes, again, I don't know much about it, and I don't want to know much about it. I want to go into it blind. So, find out why so many people love this series. So, it just sort of drifted past me. I never really got around to it. Next up, again, I don't really know what this is about, but it's The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. This will actually be my first time reading Leigh Bardugo, and I think it's the only, no, that's a lie, I own Ninth House. I was about to say it was the only book by her that I own, but I own Ninth House, which I have not read. Again, I know Leigh Bardugo is really popular, though I have heard conflicting things about this one. But I've also heard some people say that it has the same vibe as The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I loved. So I'm going to give this one a go as well. I'm going to give this one a go, and I do like the cover. I think it's got a nice cover to it. It might be The Dark Academia, maybe? I'm not sure. But I'd like to read this, and I like when I'm introduced to a new author to read a standalone rather than a series. So that way I don't have to, if I don't like them, I don't have to commit myself to multiple books of them, just to complete one story. So I'm going to read that. Next up is a young adult. As I said, I don't actually know what The Familiar is about. So again, and this one I sort of know it's about. I think it's semi-popular, and that's Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. I'll go for Stephen. Laura Stephen. I think this is about two people who I think they are like die and are reborn over and over again, but they always end up being the ones to kill each other, but at the same time they're always in love with each other. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's a young adult, and I think it's fairly popular. I've heard some people like it, so. But I'd like to give this a go. I'm trying to clear out some of my romanticy, because I'm starting to suspect it's not actually a genre that I'm huge with. But I'm going to give that a go, and it's a pretty edition. And this one, I've never heard of this, so I don't know if anyone else has heard of this. I found this on the bookshelf. My local Tesco supermarket has a bookshelf where you can put a book that you don't want, and if you want one you can stick a £1 in for charity. It's called To Ride Hell's Chasm by Janny Wurtz. I picked it up because I looked at that cover, and it was thankfully a standalone as far as I'm aware. I think it's a standalone. And apparently, I think it's about a princess is supposed to get married, but she disappears. 2 warriors are sent to hunt her down, which sounds very old school fantasy. And it looks old school fantasy, especially with that cover. I picked this up solely because I've never heard anyone talk about it. So it'd be interesting to go into something truly blind. So, and I think I looked her up. Apparently she's worked with Raymond E. Feast, who I know is a popular fantasy writer, though I couldn't name any of his work or what he looked like or anything. So I do know he's a popular fantasy author now. So I'm going to try and read that one. I'm always curious when I find a book that I've never heard of, because all the books in the bookshops are all popular series and popular authors and stuff like that. So I always get interested when I find something older that looks older. I think it's older, and I've never heard anyone talk about that. I find that interesting. I think that's all the fantasy. Next are contemporary lit type things, and again 3 of these I've picked up solely because they're very popular and I've never read them. Starting with Normal People by Sally Rooney. I have no clue what this is about. Takes place in a school, and I think it's a bit of a slice of life, coming of age type thing. Doodad, I'm not sure, but again, my best friend gave me this copy. I can't remember if it was hers or her mum's, but I want to read this and find out what all the hype is about. I know lots of people love Sally Rooney. So next up, a very, very popular book on BookTube, practically BookTube royalty, it feels like sometimes, that I have not read, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I think it's basically a journalist is interviewing this, she's an actor, I think. Yeah, I think she's an actor, and she's basically telling the story of her life, including the 7 husbands that she was married to. I know this is immensely popular, and it's Taylor Jenkins Reid, who I've never completed one of her books. I started Daisy Jones and the Six, but I audioed it, and I spent the entire time, because it's full cast, I couldn't keep track of who was talking. So I think I'll need to physically read that one if I ever do read it. But yes, I'm going to find out what the hype is for this. It's got a cool cover, so I'll give it that. And I don't know if this is a popular opinion or not. I think I prefer the UK cover over the American cover, but I prefer the font on the American cover over the UK cover. So, but yes, first time reading a very popular book and first time reading a very popular author. So, I'll start with this one. This one is also a, I think I think when I first discovered BookTube and started watching, I saw this pop up, but I've seen it less and less, and that's We Were Liars. And again, I think this is sort of a, yeah, I don't actually know what it's about. I think it's just people talking about their childhood and something happened. I don't know. Again, I don't know what this is about. I'm going into it blind. I want to find out what's so popular about it. It's nice and short. So, and this one I don't think I've actually heard anyone talk about. And I picked it up because I thought it was going to be in the same vein as Young Mungo, which by, what's his name? Oh no, it's not immediately behind me. But I really liked Young Mungo, and it seemed, it was giving me the same vibe when I saw the advertisements for it. Anyone's Ghost. I think this is a coming of age story. I think it's queer. Yeah. Again, I don't really know what this is about. I did when I bought it, but I don't remember since, because it's been like a year and a half maybe. So, but I do want to read it and find out what it's about. I wasn't lying to you when I said that I like to go into books blind. A bit less blind. I know this is about a friendship between two blokes. Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. And again, it's a nice shorty, and I know it's George and Lenny. I kind of have a vague idea. It's two friends sort of going through life and they get in trouble with something. Again, that's all I really know about it, but I think my dad said that this is a must read, and I will trust him on that, so I'm going to read that. This one I have technically read, but it's been so long, so I want to reread it, and that is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I read this for GCSE, and I remember really enjoying it, which shocked me at the time, because I usually hate the books that they choose. They normally choose Shakespeare, who I find about as entertaining as watching paint dry, but but yes, so I really enjoyed this one, and I want to reread it. I think we all know what Jekyll and Hyde about. It's a sort of mystery. When you know the twist at the end, it's so ingrained in pop culture that you do kind of know what the twist at the end is. But basically, Dr. Jekyll is this very well-to-do guy, and he has this mysterious friend named Mr. Hyde, who is very monstrous. He would just like attack people in the street, and everyone fears him. And it's kind of a mystery of who is this Mr. Hyde? Why is Jekyll associated with him? Because he's supposed to be a good, respectable doctor. It's all told from the perspective of other characters trying to figure out what's going on. Again, once you know the twist at the end, it's so ingrained in pop culture. But I would like to reread it because it is written as a mystery. So I want to reread that. Next up, I've got two. These are dark romances. As I said earlier, I'm not a huge romance reader, so it's got to have something else going on. I've never read dark romance before, though I have read fan fictions that I imagine probably count as dark romance. So I'm going to give these two a go that I own. I'm going Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. What I gathered, it's a love story between Butcher and Blackbird, and they are both serial killers, but they're both serial killers in the Dexter kind of sense, and I'm a big fan of Dexter, so that might be something I'm into. I'd like to give it a go. You gotta love a Dexter style serial killer. I'm a sucker for a serial killer in a story. So yes, I know this is part of a trilogy, and I've not heard great things about the other two, but I think they're all kind of work as standalones, so I'm going to give this one a go. And this one also, I think he's a Dexter style serial killer, but I've gone for Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. I do actually own Hunting Adeline as well, so whether or not I read that will depend on this one. But I've heard that one's actually darker, so I don't know. But again, I think he's a sort of Dexter type person. They kind of got to be in order to make you root for them and think they're hot, don't they? So, and he's stalking Adeline, but she's like into it. That's all I really know. So I know this is a self-published book that became really popular. I don't know if this is a self-published copy. I think it looks self-published, and there's some dodgy print inside, so I think that maybe it is. you can't really see, but like it's sort of double printed on the page. That's what you get when you buy second hand though, isn't it? So, but yes, I'm going to give this a go. I know it's really popular, and if people talk about dark romance, I think this is the series that's kind of the series that people talk about, to the point I've seen it in Waterstones, and they don't normally do self-published books unless they've been traditionally published, which I don't know if this has. So, but I'm going to read that again, see if it is a romance story that I'll like. Next up, these are, I've got 3 thrillers, and again, some of them I sort of know what they're about. The Secret History by Donna Tartt I know is considered a modern classic, and it's compared to, I think it's semi-compared to If We Were Villains, which I have read. It was okay. So, yes, and it shocked me when I flipped through it and discovered it was only like, what, 7 chapters? Which is, those are some long chapters. But again, it's really popular. I want to know why. I'm not a huge thriller person, but I'm going to keep giving it a go, mainly because I do own a lot of them. You can see some of them behind me. So, there they are. So I'm going to give that a go again to find out what the hype is. And I think it's Dark Academia. Sorry. And so it might be something I'm interested in. I have a tentative like of Dark Academia. I've not read enough of it in order to strongly say that I like it, but what I have read I found interesting. This one, Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. Why is it got blue tack on it? All I know about this is it is inspired by the real life crimes of Ted Bundy. That's all I really know about it. And the Bright Young Women is a play on the promising young man who threw his future away by committing this crime thing that you always see, and that you sometimes see in the media. And it's kind of, so I think that's kind of like Promising Young Woman, maybe. I'm not sure. I think it's a story about the survivors rather than about him. So, but I'm interested in that, giving it a go. I'm not actually a thriller reader, but it sounds interesting, and I'm a true crime fan, so I'll give that a go. And another one, I picked this up solely because it was a popular author, and it was her one non-romance book as far as I was aware, and I was not aware that people didn't like her at the time. I just knew that she was popular. Verity by Colleen Hoover. And to be fair, a lot of people I've seen who don't like Colleen Hoover, I think some of them have liked Verity. I'm not entirely sure, but I know it's her one non-romance book. And for all the hate she gets, I actually did read This Ends With Us. It Ends With Us last year, and I was surprised by how much I actually enjoyed it. So it wasn't what I was expecting, but then it wasn't really I wouldn't necessarily call it a romance, more of a contemporary lit thing. So, but I'm going to give this one a go. It's the only Colleen Hoover book that I actually own. I don't necessarily know if I'll read anything from her afterwards, because again, I'm not a romance reader, but I'm going to give this one a go. I think it's about someone who agrees to be a ghostwriter for someone who is in a coma or something, and she moves into the house of this person, and she may be in love with this person's husband, and this person may not actually be in a coma. Again, I'm not entirely certain, but I'm going to give it a go. Next up is I think it's a sci-fi, maybe a sci-fi fantasy, and it's a self-published book, because I used to be subscribed to Your Paper Quest, which I think doesn't operate in England anymore because they stopped sending stuff and stopped taking my money. So, but I've gone for, it's called Duckett and Dyer, Dicks for Hire, which is a very interesting title. It's by J.M. Nair. From what I gathered, it's about Duckett and Dyer, who are sort of two, I think one of them's quite down on his luck and the other's a bit of a slacker, and basically one day they discover like posters and leaflets advertising their detective agency. They advertise them as detectives, which they are not, but Dyer, basically starts to go along with it, and I think they basically uncover a sort of mystical, interdimensional type thing that's going on, which you can see there's got a weird monster with eyes on his hands. I don't know. Again, this is also part of the A series, so if I like this, I will be interested in picking up the others. It sounds like, if nothing else, it will be a fun time. So I'm going to give that a go. And I like the cover. It's a very cool cover. So I'm going to give that a go. And last two, I'm going Spike and Drew, Pretty Maids, all in a row. I own several books that I like fandom adjacent, like Star Wars tie novels and stuff like that. This is a tie novel for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest TV shows of all time, and I love that show, and I will not hear any criticisms against it. And I love Spike and I love Drew, so I want to read this, and that is the sole reason why. I don't even know what it's about. I know it's about Spike and Drew. 1940s. There we go. That's the sole reason I want to read it. If you don't know who Spike and Drew is, they're two vampires from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and they're sort of lovers. He's a sort of punk rock slash poet slash really wants to be cool, but in actuality he's just a complete lover boy, and she's his girlfriend, who is a little bit nutty. She was driven insane before she got turned into a vampire, and they sort of have they're in a relationship as a result, and he's like completely besotted with her, and she's a nutter, and they're quite entertaining in the show. If you haven't watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, go watch it. It's on Disney Plus, I believe. And I love both these characters. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and that's why I want to read it. So yes, I have no clue what actually happens in it, and I don't care. It's Spike and Drew. So, and last but not least is the one non-fiction book in this pile, and that is Zodiac by Robert Graysmith. As I said earlier, I'm a fan of like true crime, and I own several true crime books, but I keep not picking them up in favour of the fiction. So I'm going to start with this one. I have actually seen the film adaptation with Jake Gyllenhaal and Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, and that guy who plays a serial killer and everything, John Carroll Lynch, I think his name is. So I do want to read this as one as well, as a starter to get through my true crime collection. But yes, that is the 26/23, including 3 series involved, books that I would like to read in 2025. Hopefully I get to them all. I've written them all down so I can cross them off as I go. And that is my goal, part of my goal for next year. And hopefully I will get to them. So thank you, and thank you for watching, and like, subscribe. Thank you, and goodbye.